Hello, traders. It's E from MarketWizards.com. Saturday morning, the 26th of November, 2022. Reminding traders to use risk capital you can afford to lose. All right, going to run through charts as usual. And again, this is for my own benefit. This is my journal. Take a look at the bigger picture, especially on the weekends. Not suggesting this will work for you, but it is the system that I use and I found very helpful. And what I apply to one time frame, I apply to them all, and that's how you can become somewhat consistent in your analysis. This is a challenging business, and anybody that thinks it's easy and thinks that this is a business that you can just fire away and get wealthy, I think the market will teach you another lesson before too long. So with that disclaimer, let's take a look at the charts. And again, most people I think love to put on Twitter uh, their analysis, but doesn't necessarily mean they're trading. A lot of people are working jobs, don't have the time, and don't have the capital, whatever. But it's fun to banter about at the water cooler. And so let me add what I'm doing to the mix. On a weekly basis throughout the year, and we're running out of time for this year. We've got a lot of, not a lot, but some traders still calling for new highs and slingshot trade. All I know is in looking at this chart that we have come off the floor. We have bounced and we have tested level 2, right? This is level 1, this is level 2, level 3, level 4, and so on. We have not yet been able to get it back up into last year's range. That's a danger signal until we break that and then come up to that first level up here. So that's something I'm going to be watching for the next few weeks. And for now, this level is our support level. This is our resistance level. And if you want to put an aggressive level in there, then let's take the middle of that range, which I've indicated. So this is on this larger macro frame. This is an important box that I need to see resolved before I worry about anything up here, anything down here. I'm taking it one step at a time because that's the way I like to analyze a market. And we already know that from the distance that we have gone, we have come back a 50% pullback and not quite the 60 back, right? Because 484 is above 360. So, and these numbers will change a bit as futures contracts roll and so on, but I do it this way from my spreadsheets and the print numbers that I've got. So that's a good look at the weekly, and this is the range. This 12,004.5 has to be taken out and get above it, and then we also need to get above that 12,189 and stay above it. So that's something I'll look for in the next few weeks. Taking a look at another chart, fourth quarter. The 710, if anybody saw my posts the other day, this 710 I said was our support. 914 resistance. I'm looking at this chart for that information. What I'm trying to do is show you that there's some trade logic involved. I'm not just picking numbers out of the hat. There's a reason I call levels. And there's a reason that I see a 1, 2, third time through trade didn't hold, came back, but did hold back here, the 500 area, and now push back. So this 710 obviously is the middle of these two boxes, and that's an important area based on this theory. On a yearly basis, this is a little bit drilled down look on a daily chart and looking at the idea of being inside this range that we just talked about and trying to fight this range and decide which way are we going, sometimes based on moving averages, sometimes just based on levels, but putting them all together, we know this range has to be resolved. I'm not interested in anything up here or down here. I'm interested in this range specifically right now to get that resolved. And obviously this high up here. If you can't take out that high, we're still battling back here. Can't take out this low back here or this low, we're still inside it fighting. Monthly chart. Really instructive to go back and look at your charts from different time frames. And this clearly on this time frame, on this monthly frame, we know that we held the first box. We took out the high. We went 2 boxes above it. We've come down and we are currently above the 734, which is an important idea because we're still in a breakout mode. So basis the monthly chart, and we are coming to the end of the month, we need to resolve this 933, which was exactly at the level 7 going into the 8th box. And we know that obviously the 748 area is an important support. If we break this level in here, then obviously this box opens up. Simple as that. There's no room for emotionalism in this. It's an objective criteria. And the more that this shows up to us and ratifies the idea, the more we can believe in our system. That's why I believe in this system. And on this chart, you can't see that, but in the last one, you can see that exactly. So we held the low, 2 points below, 1.5 or so, and doubled. And then we took off, and this is the Thanksgiving week that bounced, and we are still inside that previous week's range. So obviously, till we take out that high, that's in control. Until we take out this low, that's in control, and we're going to range trade it. Already know where the middle for last week was. So these are important ideas that every chart we can look at and analyze it the same way. Now something looks like this, looks like it's fabricated, prefabricated, but it's not. This comes from the system. And once you plot the numbers, they will show you the areas that are your support. Let's suggested 523 support. I don't know that it's going to come all the way up to the top box, but I do know step by step it has that potential. If we hold below, obviously the primary pivot, 562.5, we get above this 718.75, said that support. I'm not guessing. I know that because that's what the system says. And then the 58 area. And the 96, this was our opening pivot on Friday, right? 796, 75. I'm not pulling these numbers out of the air. And again, if you're listening to this, you don't have to believe me. I do this for my own benefit so that I believe in my own system so that when the comes time to take a trade, I don't hesitate. I trust the numbers, and if I'm wrong, I get out. 1136 current resistance could not bust above that. Remember we talked about 25 to 30 resistance. I already know this is right behind it. And you've got to bust that if you want to get back up into this top box. Big pivot, 875. This is obviously Thanksgiving Day, this nonsense up in here, 914. Mentioned that before. This was a target, and we thought that that was a potential to get to. We don't know it's going to achieve that, but we do know if you get there, you better get paid because now you're getting close to the top of this frame. And some of the charts that a lot of traders like to look at, especially with VWAP in it. This is the Thursday nonsense. And this arch, this is part of trading. You'll see these big arches in trading. It's a pretty good example of that. And again, when we have something crazy to the upside, we oftentimes will get something crazy back to the downside as a counterbalance. And for those of you like order flow, volume profile, we can see just how spurious this was overnight, and then we followed the downtrend overnight and came right back down and chewed up a lot of traders who thought that this was going to be a powerful up day. Well, market was taking profits. And looking at Friday's chart, we had to add an extra day in there because of the Thursday nonsense. If you wanted a true look at a 2-day range, which I did. So this was a chart I was looking at. We talked about that 718.75 support. That was from the predictive levels. And we talked about the potential resistance target of 913.5. And that was obviously from that other chart we just showed. So you can go back and take a look at that. But you can see we don't know we're going to get there. We just know where those levels are. And if we get there, we know that, hey, that's a pretty good poke and you may want to take some profits. So the support that I had on Friday, we were talking about this 758, and I was talking about that with Paulie and 762 immediate support. I'm looking at those charts to determine those levels. I'm looking back here at this support saying, okay, if that breaks, then we know we're coming back down here. If we know if we take this out, we have the right to go back up and test the 875 area step by step. And immediate resistance, 826, that came from the middle of this swing from this low to that high. So that's where that idea came from, and it worked out pretty well for anybody that saw the charts that were showing some downtrend lines coming at you as you were bouncing. And we close in this frame right here. Let's take a look at one last chart. And this is an Orbo chart, not totally sanitized, but somewhat sanitized. And we have a zone that we're looking for, and I can do this in multiple time frames depending on how aggressive or conservative I want to be. But on Friday, where I thought it'd be a rather limited range because a lot of traders weren't even trading, contracts would be very thin. I looked at the first level that I would expect to get paid in, and that would be the primary target at 825. And if we broke the other side, it would come down to the 767.25 level. So this is calibrated based on systems that I use, and normally you're going to go in one direction farther than this, but this was the conservative idea of make sure you are paid in probably a range-bound market, and this is as good as gold when we start to hit some of these bigger trend line like the rain line, and that told me on this chart, don't over trade this and don't think that we're going to get too much either side. And the goal was to be done between 11:30 because we knew we had a shortened day and you don't want to get stuck at the end of the day. So the Orbo trade turned out to be a good one if you were flexible and thought two-way trading. And my assumption is that most traders didn't even bother trading on Friday. You had guests and you had people still there visiting if they stayed overnight. And so this was more of a, keep your head in the game type thing. But if you chose to trade, you don't want to damage your account by and go into a long weekend and have a lot of explaining to do to your wife about why you can't pay the bill for the turkey that she just bought. Now here's a tweet that Dan, who corresponds with me here and there, I'm aware of he sent me some charts and I've taken a look at them, and not necessarily the way I trade, but I think he nails it with his tweet. And typically most people do not understand the reality of this business. This is not easy for you to take a risk and knock yourself out trying to make money in this business day after day, week after week, especially if you are a day trader and you have very tight stops. Because really, your game is to try to make your money before you lose your money, and typically you're going to have to experience some drawdowns if you're playing this game. So the question is, how much are you willing to risk in order to make something? And even if you do a good job and you did this on every day of the year that you were trading in a typical year, you're still talking about maybe 25,000 if you're doing 20% on $100,000 account. So it's not a get rich quick scheme, and I certainly don't want to suggest that it is. If anything, I would suggest you make sure that you can support yourself with your job or whatever else you're doing, and then add this on. And over time, hopefully you'll get enough skill capital together where it does make a difference. And if you're blessed with a large account, then by all means, you can grow it faster if you've got an edge in the market. I submit that most people don't. Most people don't take this kind of time to understand what it takes to really make this a business. And my message for you, very simple. If you don't have an edge, then you shouldn't be trading. Whether it's something like a system I put together or anybody else, it's not going to help you if you don't have the right attitude, the right amount of capital, and the time to pursue it, and a significant other who will support you in that endeavor. So for me, the most important part of this message I'd like to end with is know thyself, know what you're looking to do, and your life will change when you get better at this business significantly. But it's going to take time, and it's going to take effort on your part. And hopefully, as you study with different traders and learn the game, you'll be able to make this a profitable endeavor to add to what you're doing as another income stream. All right, for all you turkeys out there, have a wonderful weekend, and thanks for listening.